Hi everybody, this is Simone Rossetti from The Watch, and you are looking at liveprog. Enjoy!
Hello music friends, Marcel Haster here, the Dutch guy, and welcome to liveprog. In this video I bring you a review of 4 Destinies by Alex Carpani. Alex Carpani is an Italian keyboard player, singer, songwriter, musician who has an impressive career. I just checked out his website and I'm not gonna mention everything. Just visit this website here if you are interested in knowing about this guy, and you should, because he has done a lot. His career goes back all the way to the early 90s when he started making music, but he made a lot of different kind of albums, not just progressive rock. And this one, 4 Destinies, is in essence his 3rd prog rock album. A concept album. He did 2 others as well in the past. He did a lot of other things. He also has the Alex Carpani band, which by the way is featured on this album as well. So, wow, this is a versatile guy. And I did read a little bit about him because I wasn't familiar with Mr. Carpani at all. And that was one thing I noticed that kind of interested me, especially after hearing this album, is that when he was 7 years old, he met Keith Emerson, and that had a profound impact on his life. And what's more, he even went to school with Keith Emerson's son. So that made such an impact on his life that, well, basically it mapped out what he wanted to be, a keyboard player in the vein of Keith Emerson. And when I listen to this album, I am almost inclined to say that he is the Italian Keith Emerson, because on this album he really brings out a variety of different keyboards that really dominate the sound of this album. Just to give you an impression, I mean, he has this all listed in the booklet. He plays piano, Hammond, Mellotron, Moog, does the orchestrations and also does lead vocals. There's another name that's interested me, that is a guest. I mean, the rest of the band are from the Alex Carpani band, but David Jackson, tenor, alto and soprano saxes and various flutes. And you know, even before having heard any of this album, when I read that on this one, and well, I can show it to you, there we have also the rest of the band. You can read it. There you have it. You can just press pause and just read it all for yourself. Alright, but here we have certain elements in the music that I absolutely love. We have Hammond organ, we have Moogs, we have saxophone and we have flutes. And it's like, wow, this just sounds like a heavenly album. But when I started to listen to the album, and maybe I should have guessed, especially with the Hammond, because the Hammond of course gives a more of a retro sound. So when I started listening to this album, and especially in that first track, it really feels like a retro album that's going back to the 70s. And to be very honest, when I was listening to this album, I heard hints of Emerson, Lake Palmer, of Genesis, of Camel, and of maybe lots of other bands you can, you know, hear influences of when you listen to this music. So original? Not really, but he does make it very good. He creates this unique atmosphere, this retro atmosphere, and he puts so many layers of keyboards into the music that it is such a delight to listen to this album. And I have to be honest, I really feel that the rest of the band is really more playing a supportive role, especially the guitars. I don't really hear any standout guitars on the album. What I did hear was the bass. The bass definitely stood out, especially on a couple of tracks. Time Spiral and Sky and Sea, those tracks really have some bass that really lies on top of the music, which is very good.
Now I can see the lighthouse set in the dark.
The interesting part is, and I can show it to you again, this is the rear of the package. As you can see, 4 tracks. That is what this album consists of. Once again, the album cover. And it is a digipack, as you can see with the booklet here. 4 tracks. but all clocking 13 minutes and more. I mean, we have the first 2 tracks 13 and a half minutes, and the last 2 tracks 14 minutes and 18 seconds. So long tracks, but when you start listening to the album and you get past that initial shock, at least that's what I had a little bit. I mean, I'm expecting more modern sounds these days, but you know, Alex Carpani goes back in time a little bit more. But once you get past that shock, he creates a very enjoyable album with really beautiful tunes. And even though it's just 4 tracks, even though it's 4 long tracks, they're not boring. He doesn't lose the attention of the listener, because he created them in such a way that there's a lot of variety inside every track. And also the instruments that he uses, I mean, the Hammonds, the Moog solos, the piano parts in it, oh man, the mellotrons in it, it's so delicious, and I love those instruments so much. So that's why I love this album very much. But also the parts that David Jackson adds to this album. There's one track that really starts off with these different kinds of saxophone sounds, and that is the last track, The Infinite Room. We have different kinds of saxophone sounds in it, and then, you know, the track continues. But I really like that, and the flute parts in it, that is an instrument I really love when they put that in an album, the flute. I don't know why, and it doesn't mean that gives me a sort of a flashback to Peter Gabriel in Genesis, who also played flute, but I just love that sound combined with the prog rock ideas. A very surprising album with some really good tunes on it. Vocal wise, I'm not a big fan of Alex Carpani as a singer, but there's another singer, Joe Sell, who does additional vocals, and especially in the parts where they sing together, you get these harmony effects. That is also very nice. The vocals are done both in English and in Italian, so also that gives it a nice touch. And altogether, there are some things I don't like about the album. There's a lot of things I do like about the album. So I still say check it out, For Destinies by Alex Carpani. Now, if you have heard this album, I'm curious, what do you think of it? Let me know what you think of this album. So definitely check it out, Alex Carpani, For Destinies. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope you will see me at a new review.